Lawmakers are discussing the concept of line item vetoes, which was sparked by the veto error by Governor Armstrong. He unintentionally crossed out $35 million in funding for housing and homelessness programs back in May. Michael Anthony explains why there's so much debate about it now at the Capitol.
Every 2 years, members of the House and Senate introduce, debate, and eventually pass more than 40 appropriation bills covering things like salaries for state employees, funding for state colleges and universities, and programs you might depend on, like funding for student meals. These bills can be lengthy, which is why the governor can take out certain parts as he sees fit. With the complexity of these bills and how important they can be, it's vital the line item veto is clear and concise so everyone understands what is cut and why. According to Article 5, Section 9 of the North Dakota Constitution, the governor is required to return any vetoed items with a written statement back to the legislature. To give a simple example, Governor Kelly Armstrong vetoed Section 7 of the Commerce Budget Bill, which would have provided $350,000 for sanitation restoration projects for the state fair. He provided a letter to the Senate explaining his reasoning and a copy of the bill describing what he removed. This can become complicated when a section of the bill contains multiple items. On May 19th, Armstrong cut out Section 7 of the Industrial Commission budget, which had 2 parts. His letter clearly focused on a piece of it involving $150,000. However, the copy of the bill shows an X through the entire section, which included millions of dollars for housing and homelessness programs. Armstrong says it was a markup error, one that shows how precise the line item veto needs to be. Attorney General Drew Wrigley issued an opinion last month stating that the text is what everyone should go off of, which only mentions the $150,000. However, Legislative Counsel argues the copy of the bill is a definitive document, citing a previous opinion by former Attorney General Wayne Stencham that argues the text does not have binding legal authority and a 2018 court ruling that mentions the executive branch's power to strike items out of a bill. As it stands, only the $150,000 is cut from the Industrial Commission bill, and the millions originally slashed are set to be used for their intended purposes. Lawmakers don't want the millions of dollars slashed, but they're upset with how the veto was addressed without legislative action. They argue it goes against precedent and could unconstitutionally expand the executive's power. Members of legislative management are expected to meet next week at the earliest to decide on how to move forward. One option is to have the state Supreme Court deal with this. Another is to call a special session and override the veto, but that doesn't necessarily address the Attorney General's opinion. We'll just have to wait and see.